Hello, Lou Hamilton from Audible Elegance here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We are located in Old Montgomery. Some people refer to it as Cincinnati. We're a couple doors north of the original Montgomery Inn and across the street from Montgomery Cyclery. We have a parking lot to the rear of the store and a rear entrance for your convenience. We do work on Facebook and Instagram. I write a monthly blog on audibleelegance.com. This last couple months, including June, is about living life and stop living in fear. Right now, all the news makes you want to crawl into a hole and bury yourself. And if everybody does that, what we wind up with is a large graveyard. So we don't really want to do that. Okay, once again, we have yet another turntable brought to us with a failed attempt to home mount a phono cartridge. And as is common, when you don't exactly know how to do it, here we have a lead where the clip was completely broken off. We are fortunate to have a Riga clip, but as we started looking at this, it's more than one clip. If you look at this one, you can see that it's in the shape of a Z, which means that the tail, which is here, has been bent up. And so we're going to try to straighten that out and hopefully not have it break, but there's no guarantee. Now, let me explain why a lot of this happens. For those who have removable head shells, the advantage is you can really control what's going on. So I'll give removable head shells that single advantage. Beyond that, I'm not a real fan of them. In any event, you have a cartridge tag, and where people get into trouble is they come in from the side. And as you can see, I do not have the hemostats up against the clip itself. So coming in from the side, your best chance is to have it pinned, the hemostat against it. If you try to use standard pliers, you're in real trouble because you have the weight of the pliers, and depending upon your ability to control your hands, you can end up creating problems. The risk on this approach is that you can wind up bending it down as opposed to into the clips. So you have an advantage over this, which you can bend in either direction. I personally like to take the hemostat and load it this way so that as I try to push it on, I've got the nose of the hemostat against the structure and I'm pushing it straight in. I have, regardless of this approach, bent a pin or two. It is a risk. That's why when I have a turntable where there's no head shell, I personally prefer removing the tone arm so that I can control the position of the tone arm while I'm trying to do this work. And there's a lot of people who have fixed tone arms. They don't have the option of removing it. At least with Riga, you got screws. You could remove it if you wanted to. So you're kind of trapped. But I really do not recommend the use of normal customary hardware store pliers. You really need these. If you're going to be doing your own turntable, get a couple of them, one that is straight, one that is curved. These things are made in Pakistan. You can pick them up at the flea markets for $3 or $4 a piece. So there's really no excuse, because once you break something like this, depending upon how you've done it, it could turn into a costly mistake. So if you're going to attempt to do it yourself, give yourself the best chance. So I'm going to proceed in doing several things. I'm not going to film it. I kind of private when I try to do things intricately. But the first thing I'm going to do is take this Riga lead and I'm going to desolder the wire from it. So then I have a virgin tag. Now, keep in mind that when you're soldering, it's the solder that conducts the heat. So the solder goes to the tip of the iron and then you flow it onto your target. You don't put the solder on the target and then hope that the iron will heat it up. That's the wrong way. The best way of soldering is also to make sure that both surfaces that you're going to mate are tinned, which means that you already have preloaded solder on, let's say, the wire and the connector, terminal in the wire. Both of them already have solder on it. Otherwise, you're going to be running a little bit of a fight. If you run too high of a temperature, particularly with wire, you run the risk of burning the wire, removing the insulation, and or causing oxidation to occur during the large amount of heat that you're applying. And this is true on a big speaker cable. And then you can't get the solder to flow at all. So I'm going to take a break for a moment. I'm going to try to deal with this red one first. If I'm successful, then I'll proceed with the rest of it. If this one goes to hell, then I'm going to pause and wait till I have 2 tags to put on the table rather than merely 1. So here we have a case where someone tried to do their home cartridge. The cartridge didn't even come from us. I wish it had, because we sell them. That's how we make a living. And I'll try to get this right, and then we'll proceed with mounting. If I consider this one risky, then I'm not even going to try to mount. I'm going to have to get another pin and do a little more complex procedure, but we'll get there. So keep in mind that, you know, if you're not experienced in doing cartridges and tags, then at least give yourself the best chance of doing it. Otherwise, leave it to a professional to do it, because they'll probably do it right the first time, and if they screw up, it's their problem. They got to fix it anyway. In addition to having broken a clip, we can see signs that where he tried to manipulate the pins in order to fit onto the new cartridge. Again, we have signs of that a cumbersome device was used. So if we look at this pin, you'll see that it is uneven and how it is closed, which means before I even attempt to mount a cartridge, I've got to open this pin up. Otherwise, I have a real severe risk of doing exactly what happened here. We have, I think, a more severe case here. That or the red. One of the two is really kind of gooked. And when I look at these sort of things, I can also tell what type of device was used to cause the closure or to try to open it up. So again, this makes life more difficult. So before I even attempt to replace the clip on this one, I've got to make sure, now that I've got the red straightened out, that I have the spacing on this opened up enough to fit the cartridge onto it. Otherwise, I'm going to wind up breaking one of these clips. So fixing this one is of no import because I've broken another clip. This is one of the reasons, you know, you let somebody who knows what they're doing and why they're doing it do the table mounting. Okay. And, well, here we go. So I'm going to try to straighten these things out and find out what happens. Okay, we have successfully been able to get the tags right. One of the problems you can run into when you're changing cartridges is that we'll call it the diameter of the opening of the pin simply is the wrong diameter for the cartridge you're wanting to use. So this may be that the spread of this has to be wider for fatter pins or more narrow to grip the smaller pins. He's moving between, I think, a Riga cartridge over to an Ortofon. An Ortofon has smaller pins than a Riga cartridge, so this actually has to be closed up. Now, in our case, we have at least one advantage in that we were able to take an open clip, not mounted, and proceed to check whether it is actually going to grip or not. And it grips fine. There was an attempt to close up the pins, and I literally had to take this very fine instrument, flathead screwdriver, very small, and go in and open up 2 of the 3 other pins so that I could actually slide the cartridge on. Again, this is where pliers are used, and it was crushed too small. So you couldn't even fit the smaller pins of an ortofon onto the tag. So now I'm going to desolder this, then solder that tag to this wire. Now, as you can see, one of the things I'm going to have to deal with pretty quickly is that when he broke it, part of the old tag remains. So I've got to clear that in order and get that wire tinned in order to solder that on. And again, I'm going to do it privately. I don't like doing fine work with a camera on me. That's just me. Some people can do it. I can't. Okay, so what we've managed to do is we have reattached the tag and the wire. The problem is that each one of the tags now, because of prior handling, are really not the best. And again, sometimes there's only so much we can do. We're going to see how this one works out. We're going to listen to it. If we're satisfied, it's a go. But I'm probably going to get some spare tags just in case we need to have further surgery on this. New tags would be ideal. We have a supply of those coming. But this is what you got to be real careful about. The red tag is still bent. I did not try to flatten that out straight. My fear is if I went straight, I would probably snap it off and I'd wind up with the blue wire all over again. So these are the risks that, when you try to do something without enough experience and or the wrong tools. And when I've made mistakes, 9 out of 10 times, it really comes down to I tried to do something with the wrong tool, and or was in a rush. That's another one that's real bad. So if you're trying to do something delicate, do it without any pressure on yourself, because otherwise you're just begging for a disaster. Since we had to solder it in position over the plinth itself, plinth is a very lovely plastic finish. We took the time to literally put a wet paper towel down so that if anything dripped, it would go into the wet paper towel and not affect the finish. So there we are. Thank you.